So me need it, tilapia a real fish. Cook it up and make roast it. Farm first, so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Grow smart, at the best part. Food for thought, so me have to eat smart. Easy catch, fully net. A tilapia, so you don't know what's next. Cook it up and make fry it. Fresh, so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Bring home the best in freshwater fish. High content of vitamin B3, protein and potassium. Tilapia, simple, healthy, delicious.
So who keeps our taxpayer money in check? Well, the PAC and PAAC help watch over the country's budget. And one might sound like it just have an extra A, but they're way different. Here's how. The PAAC and PAC are two committees that watch the money. The Public Accounts Committee reviews government projects after them close. They do a post-audit check to see what problems arose with the costs and call officials to explain decisions that cause budget mismanagement. And then they recommend corrective action. So the problem will happen from when, not happen again. But what about the money we are spending right now? The PAAC. That's how Public Administration and Appropriations Committee pretty much means your money will protect as it happen we check. While projects go on, things are accurate. As government spend the nation's budget, PAAC reviews it. They examine proposals and summon officials to find problems before them don't use it. So the PAC and PAAC are two parliamentary committees that watch over the country's wallet to protect the budget and keep it in check. And you can get involved. Just visit jampja.org.
Embark on a journey to discover the truth that sets us free. Join us on Tomorrow's World, your weekly source of hope, answers, and divine insight. Sundays at 9 a.m. with rebroadcasts on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:30 a.m. Tune in right here on PBCJ, the People's Station, and be inspired.
BGLC, the regulatory body. We regulate, you play without worry. We regulate, you play. BGLC, fair play when you play. For the fun of the game, you know where they are. BGLC, keep it fair for the player. You play the game and we are the rules that keep everything fair so the game play better. The Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission. We ensure fairness, integrity and responsible gaming practices. Keep the game fair and fun for everyone. We regulate, you play.
What's the state of education in the digital age? Find the answers in the new season of Piccadilly Talks, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. right here on PBCJ.
Imagine a creature so elusive that it was believed to have vanished entirely from the face of the earth since the 1800s.
BGLC, the regulatory body. We regulate, you play without worry. We regulate, you play. BGLC, fair play when you play. For the fun of the game, you know where they are. BGLC, keep it fair for the player. You play the game and we are the rules that keep everything fair so the game play better. The Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission. We ensure fairness, integrity, and responsible gaming practices. Keep the game fair and fun for everyone. We regulate, you play.
Embark on a journey to discover the truth that sets us free. Join us on Tomorrow's World, your weekly source of hope, answers, and divine insight. Sundays at 9 a.m. with rebroadcasts on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:30 a.m. Tune in right here on PBCJ, the People's Station, and be inspired.
Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. Mosquitoes will breed in any container that holds water.
Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, barrels, buckets, and tanks. If this cannot be done, pour cooking oil on the water surface. Punch holes in all tins, plastics, and beverage boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover all tires or fill with dirt to prevent water collection. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs. Use mosquito repellents to protect yourself from mosquito bites. Dispose of garbage properly by placing in plastic bags and securing properly to prevent water collection.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Each year, the Jamaican Parliament approves billions in tax dollars to buy goods and services for Jamaicans. Awarding contracts to private companies to provide public goods and services is called public procurement, and it is a major hotspot for corruption. Can citizens spot the red flags in public procurement and help the government protect our taxes? Yes, they can. And here are 6 to watch for. Direct contracting. When contracts are frequently awarded to one supplier without other companies competing to offer a better price and quality, we usually end up paying more and getting less. Contract splintering. Big projects need big money and higher level approvals. But if the contract is cut up into smaller ones, it won't need external approval from offices like the Public Procurement Commission or Cabinet. This makes it easier for contracts to avoid additional scrutiny. Timing of advertisements. Contracts advertised during distracting periods like the holidays can result in less competition and a really strong advantage for the favored company. Like Christmas time, work slows down and companies are less attentive to business opportunities. Emergency contracting. Claiming emergencies allows officials to legally bypass normal procurement rules, making it easier to award contracts to favored companies. Contract timing. Contracts awarded just before or after election can be payback for campaign support and not based on what Jamaicans really need. Collusion. And what if penalties are not enforced when work is poorly done? This could be a contractor and public official working together for private benefit. And if it is, this is collusion. These flags do not prove corruption, but they trigger questions that citizens must ask. So mind your business, Jamaica. Visit the JAMP Procurement Tracker to monitor government contracts. If you spot these flags, use our ATI tool to ask questions and demand accountability.
Send the something and come back. Back to sender. God, thank you so much.
Miracles await and miracles abound. Tune in every Sunday at 7 a.m. for your share of the Miracle Revival Hour with Reverend Dr. Blair. Come for the word, stay for the worship, right here on PBCJ.
Miracle worker, work one for me.
Are you an entrepreneur producing an excellent Jamaican product or service? Did you know you can earn hard currency and more significant returns by exporting? Contact the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce to help propel your business along the export lane.
Attention, all Jamaicans! Do you realize a $60,000 a month light bill is just over $700,000 a year? And in the end, you have nothing to show? Our air conditioner capable systems start from $650,000 plus installation. Kizuka Solar makes it possible for you to own a safe, warranty-backed solar system that can turn you into an energy producer. Call us on 876-315-5870 or visit kizukasolar.com.
His name. Amen.
Item number 3, apologies for absence. We have apologies recorded for Member Crystal Lee and Member Natalie Nita Garvey. Though I recall today's date was set specifically to accommodate Member Nita Garvey as opposed to last Wednesday, so it's regrettable that she is absent today. Let me welcome members. It is regrettable that we are starting with our bare minimum. The work before us is of critical importance. I believe it is worth restating that we cannot afford to disregard the ethical considerations that must accompany our own approach as members of this ethics committee of the House. From the outset, we took note of the fact that we will be treading uncharted waters because what we are called upon to do has not really been done to the full extent by previous committees. And so we have little or no guidance. But I do believe that we have a proper sense of right and wrong. I caution against any partisan approach to this work. Although we come to our membership of the Honorable House on a party ticket, ethical considerations and the work of the Parliament must transcend narrow partisan considerations. Today we have some important matters to discuss arising from decisions taken by the committee at its last meeting. I'm going to ask for a deferral of the confirmation of the minutes at the request of the committee clerk, and matters arising from the minutes. And we move to the matters for discussion and then come back to agenda items 5 and 6. Is that okay with members? Member Cuthbert-Flynn, please go on the mic.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Thank you. Member Hilton?
I'm fine with that.
Very
Chairman.
well. Yes. Matters for discussion. You should be in receipt of the response from the Integrity Commission on the matter of clarification regarding the mechanism for presentation of the Leadership Code of Conduct for Members of Parliament. The response is dated May 8, 2026, addressed to the committee clerk from the Executive Director, Mr. Craig Beresford, and it is copied to the clerk to the Houses of Parliament. Perhaps we should just read the response into the record. Members? Yes. May 8, 2028, Mr. Brandon Nash, Houses of Parliament, Gordon House, 81 Duke Street, Kingston. Dear Mr. Nash, re-clarification regarding the mechanism for presentation of the Leadership Code of Conduct for Members of Parliament. We acknowledge receipt of your correspondence dated May 5, 2026, regarding your request for clarification on how the Leadership Code of Conduct was presented to Members of Parliament. Please be advised that on November 15, 2022, the Integrity Commission issued joint letters to both the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition. These letters, which are attached for your reference, requested a formal commitment to the Code on behalf of themselves and their respective Cabinet and Shadow Cabinet members. The correspondence was transmitted via email and hand-delivered on November 15, 2022. Receipt was acknowledged by the Office of the Leader of the Opposition that same day and by the Office of the Prime Minister on November 16, 2022. For additional details, please visit the Commission's website at https://integrity.gov.jm/leadership-commitment-2-code-to-off-conduct. Should you require further clarification, please feel free to contact the undersigned. Yours respectfully, Mr. Craig Beresford, Executive Director, Integrity Commission. Copy Ms. Colleen Lowe, Clerk to the Houses of Parliament. And over page we have the joint letter of November 15, 2022, addressed to the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition, from Mr. Greg Christie, then Executive Director, on behalf of the Integrity Commission. And it states, Dear Most Honorable Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition, re-leadership commitment to the 7 principles of public life. I'm writing jointly to you in furtherance of the series of anti-corruption and good governance workshops that were conducted by the Integrity Commission for the benefit of the Cabinet of the Government of Jamaica, as well as for the benefit of the Shadow Cabinet. The workshops were respectively administered by the Integrity Commission between November 9, 2020 and February 15, 2021 in the case of the Cabinet, and between November 15, 2021 and May 30, 2022 in the case of the Shadow Cabinet. In a further effort to promote adherence to the highest standards of good governance and integrity on the part of those who discharge public functions and duties in Jamaica, the Integrity Commission is of the considered view that public bodies and officials to whom the Commission has administered its anti-corruption and good governance workshops should be asked to formally commit to the 7 principles of public life. It is in furtherance of that objective, therefore, that I now take pleasure in submitting to you for your review and formal subscription the attached leadership commitment document, and we look forward to your timely and positive response to the Commission's overture. I avail myself of the opportunity to renew to you the assurance of my highest considerations. Yours respectfully, Greg Christie, Executive Director, for and on behalf of the Integrity Commission, and it was copied to the Honorable Retired Justice Seymour Panton, then Chairman, Mr. Ryan Evans, Director of Corruption Prevention, Stakeholder Engagement and Anti-Corruption Strategy, Integrity Commission. Attached also is the leadership commitment document. It says between the Integrity Commission and the Most Honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica and his cabinet. It says, whereas the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica and his cabinet, participated in a series of anti-corruption and good governance workshops that were held by the Integrity Commission between November 9, 2020 and February 15, 2021, and which covered the understated topics: the problem of corruption, an overview of Jamaica's anti-corruption framework, principles of good governance and integrity in government, public office and public life, public procurement overview, other critical areas involving the Integrity Commission's oversight, statutory declarations, Protected Disclosures Act, whistleblowing, reporting allegations of corruption, investigating allegations of corruption, prosecuting allegations of corruption, overview of corruption offenses in Jamaica, international best practices in anti-corruption and anti-bribery. And whereas the Prime Minister and his cabinet successfully completed participation in the aforestated workshops, and whereas the Prime Minister and his cabinet agree in principle to uphold the knowledge and philosophy imparted from the course and commit to upholding the 7 principles of public life in their dealings and interactions within and outside the public sector, that is the principle of selflessness. Holders of public office should act solely in terms of the public interest. They should not do so in order to gain financial or other material benefits for themselves, their families, or friends. Integrity. Holders of public office should not place themselves under any financial or other obligation to individuals or organizations that might seek to encourage improper behavior in the performance of their official duties. Objectivity. In carrying out public business, including making public appointments, awarding contracts, or recommending individuals for reward and benefit, holders of public office should make choices on merit. Accountability. Holders of public office are accountable for their decisions and actions to the public and must submit themselves to whatever scrutiny is appropriate to their office. Openness. Holders of public office should be as open as possible about all the decisions and actions that they take. They should give reasons for their decisions and restrict information only when the wider public interest clearly demands. Honesty. Holders of public office have a duty to declare any private interests relating to their public duties and to take steps to resolve any conflicts arising in a way that protects the public interest. Leadership, holders of public office, should promote and support these principles by leadership and example. The correspondence attaches a follow-up letter of November 15. I see, it's the same letter copied twice. All right. So let me put on record our thanks to the Executive Director of the Integrity Commission for his prompt response to the committee's letter transmitted through the clerk and for providing needed clarity on the matter. I invite members to comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, all. Just by reading, I believe the last meeting we discussed this at length as to possibly how we should go forward, how we should move forward. If this signing of this document is really as important to sign, the fact that once we are elected as members of parliament, we do take an oath. We do come here in the parliament and some swear on the Bible and some affirm that we will uphold and discharge of our duties. And so our duties would encompass all of the things mentioned here. And so I'm wondering, and just looking at some of what is written here in this, again, I recall the lead up to the general election, if I can mention that there was much to do about this particular document and that everybody had signed it in another space. But of course, I'm not aware of this document at all, but then I'm reading here where it stated that it was given to the cabinet members and to shadow persons. Now, I am really conflicted because, again, as I said, I'm really not sure that we need this. I'm not sure that we need this document. And I think in Jamaica, we love to replicate things. When you look at the objectivity, there are 6 things here: selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, leadership. Is this necessary? Look at honesty. It's asking holders of public office have a duty to declare any private interests relating to their public duties and to take steps to resolve any conflicts arising in a way that protects the public interest. But that's what the Ethics Committee is all about. I'm thinking that is why we have the Ethics Committee, to make sure that there's no conflict of interest. And I think all parliamentarians are aware that they have to declare if there is going to be any conflict of interest. Leadership, holder of public office should promote and support these principles by leadership and example. I'm not sure what that means. Objectivity. There are no members of parliament or ministers who have the authority to award contracts. We do not have such authority. And so when it states here about in carrying out public business, including making public appointments, of course we appoint for committees and boards, but then it states here awarding contracts or recommending individuals for rewards and benefits. Holders of public office should make choice of merit. Again, I really believe that we possibly need to look at what it is that we're swearing to. When we decide to put ourselves forward to become members of parliament, I believe that we would have sworn to all that is stated here already. And so I'm not sure if we need to be repeating this to say, fine, I think there's room to do a course in governance and public procurement overview and critical area involving the Integrity Commission oversight. Statutory declaration is something that we have to do. And so I'm really not sure that we need to duplicate and, do this again and again when we already take an oath, when we come into the parliament to represent the people and to serve them.
You've got a great idea. GoDaddy has the perfect domain name to go with it. It only takes a few minutes to register one with over 500 extensions.
Member Hilton. Thank you, Member Cuthbert. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, hopefully I'll try to clarify some things and my understanding as to the scheme that we are looking at. First of all, I think we have to distinguish between the Leadership Code of Conduct and the Political Code of Conduct. Those are emanating from two different bodies. Leadership Code of Conduct comes from the Integrity Commission precisely because, and it focuses really just on the cabinet and the shadow cabinet members. And there's a reason for that, I presume, and that is because that's where decisions are taken and actions are taken by the cabinet, not so much the shadow cabinet, but the idea is, and the reasoning I would imagine is that the shadow cabinet is in government in waiting, and that you're preparing both sets of leaders in that sense for the responsibility of office. So I think, and the Integrity Commission as the principal agency now charged and developing standards for its operation, I think has a responsibility to reaffirm, to restate, and to direct in the ways that it is doing. The Political Code of Conduct emanates from the Ombudsman, the Political Ombudsman, and they generated that Political Code of Conduct and another time when it was a single standalone body. Since then, the decision has been taken to fold that function into the ECJ. And the question is, what is the role, what continues to be the role and function of the Political Code of Conduct in this new dispensation? As we discussed last time, and the discussion largely focused on that office, on the Political Code of Conduct, because I think the appropriate question was being asked, when should we, who was aware, how they should become aware, because it's in the Parliament and subsequently the Cabinet and Shadow Cabinet, but it's in the Parliament that the change come about. Elections happen, change come about, and the question is, when do newly elected parliament or the new incoming parliamentarians undertake or take on that obligation and responsibility? And I think that's a germane question.
Can you just repeat it? When do newly elected
members, when would they take on that obligation, should it be, and I think there are various ideas thrown around. One thought was...
And the obligation you're referring to is which?
Is the political code of conduct.
Oh, I see.
Again, I've separated
Yes.
the leadership code and the political code. The political code clearly is not restricted to leadership or the cabinet, but all parliamentarians as a body. And so that question is germane for the parliament as to, one, what is the status of that political code? When do we take on that obligation in the life of a parliament? And I think those are yet to be responded to. I haven't seen any communication from the ECJ. Hopefully a letter had gone out, a similar letter had gone out as requested, so that they should be responding. But I think the Leadership Code of Conduct really confines itself to the cabinet and shadow cabinet, and should be seen in that light. And I believe it entirely appropriate that the training was had. Again, for those of us older parliamentarians, parliamentarians who've been in the parliament for some time, we didn't have the benefit of a number of these training and exposure. And when the new executive, when the Integrity Commission Act, right? So there were the act was amended, and so you had a new act and a new set of leadership, new standards being established. And I think that it is in that context, in an either elevated standard or clarity around the existing standard. The workshops were promulgated, were done, and the letters, and subsequently the leadership letters were sent out. And so the question remained, I recall that for myself, that the shadow cabinet in the opposition, we signed that Leadership Code of Conduct. I recall that the then cabinet did not sign that Code of Conduct, and that's where it remains until today. So we have to decide, how do we go forward from here?
Thank you, Member Hilton. Member Whittle.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to support the view of Member Cuthbert Flynn in respect of the fact that all members of Parliament would have sworn to, when I look here at the various conditions that we would seek to swear to uphold, all these are covered by our signing and our sworn commitment when we enter the Parliament. So I see this as repetitive, and also in relation to the cabinet. Remember, the cabinet members, they would have sworn to uphold all these conditions as a parliamentarian. And when they are appointed to the cabinet, they again swear to uphold as ministers all these conditions. So they swear at Parliament to uphold, and when they are appointed as cabinet, then they are also would have to swear again to uphold the conditions relative to their position as cabinet members. Now, I can recall when there was a question in relation to the political code of conduct when all candidates were asked to sign that code of conduct. So you have 60, 120 candidates who would 120.
A minimum of 63 plus 63, that's 126 plus others who may contest.
Right. Right.
Independently of the two political parties in the parliament.
Would sign the code of conduct, political code of conduct. And that is done by the ECJ, Electoral Commission of Jamaica. And it will end up that only 63 will come here, who will now have the responsibility to ensure that they act within these regulations and commitments that they would have sworn to. So, in light of that, I don't think there's much of a need for any other issue relating to our commitment to the good conduct as a parliamentarian or as a cabinet minister. And therefore, as we seek clarification regarding the mechanism for presentation of the leadership code of conduct for members of parliament, I think we should take those matters into consideration.
Thank you, Member Whittle. Member Morris, I believe this is the first time you are attending. Welcome to the meeting. I noted your apologies for absence on previous occasions. I hope to see you present at all meetings going forward, barring, of course, unseen circumstances. All right. The correspondence has clarified some things. One, the leadership code of conduct was confined to the cabinet and the shadow cabinet at the time and was not made available to all members of parliament. Is that something that we can agree on based on the correspondence?
Yes, Madam Chair. From what I read, based on the correspondence, that is what was stated to the cabinet and to the shadow cabinet. So it was not all parliamentarians.
Thank you. Member Whittle, we agree on that? Meaning the correspondence has clarified.
In relation to this, but yes. Remember that I made reference to...
My question is very specific at this time. And there's a reason why I am seeking to have an understanding of each member of the committee. Yes. So what is clear from the correspondence is that the leadership code of conduct prepared and presented by the Integrity Commission was not prepared for all members of parliament, but for the cabinet and the shadow cabinet.
Yes, that's...
Before this clarification, I was under the impression that it was presented for all members of parliament to sign.
Right.
What the correspondence makes clear is that it was confined to the cabinet and the shadow cabinet of the day.
Yes, I agree with that, but I just want to say that as we go through, let us make a distinction between...
Hold your thought. Member Hilton was quite helpful in separating, but we will have to report back to the House, and it's important that in our reporting back to the House, we are not unclear about what we are saying. And that is why I'm asking each member if it is their understanding. If you have said so, you have said so, but just to ensure that the record reflects that. Right? Remember? Yes?
Well, I just wanted to clarify that I was also under the impression, just by new things in the media, that it was all parliamentarians that did not sign or who did sign. And so reading this, I'm of the understanding that it was only sent to, or apparently sent to us certain, to the cabinet and to the shadow people to sign on to it. Again, you know, as I stated, Madam Chair, that, you know, I think we do a lot of duplication in Jamaica, and, you know, again, I think this is something that we need to debate as to the necessity of it and the oath that is taken. I'm just looking at the oath that and all that it, you know, states here with the all members of Parliament, and also for the cabinet members, the oath that's taken.
We'll come back to the further discussion on it.
Thank you.
But just going around. Member Hilton, I know you clarified, but I would just... Yes? Or Mike? Right.
Made that clarification, yes.
Sorry, I'm not hearing, and I...
No, I said I made that clarification, yes.
Right, that it was own...
Yes, yes.
Just repeat the clarification for me.
Madam Chair, when I spoke, I made that clarification that the Leadership Code of Conduct, as I understand it, and the correspondent reaffirms, was only sent to Cabinet and Shadow Cabinet.
Thank you. Yes. All right. To the best of my knowledge, these several principles of public life are a part of the Ministerial Code of Conduct, which has been adopted by the government of Jamaica. It is as a so the question is whether there is any... Well, I think we may need to gain some clarification on the status of those 7 principles of public life, whether they have been subscribed to by the current cabinet. And I say that because to perform the duties of the committee set out, we are monitoring disclosure of interest, which is likely to cause a conflict of interest. We are monitoring complaints of departure in relation to allegations involving conflicts of interest. The terms of reference. We are monitoring allegations of impropriety, more than monitoring, receive, investigating, and reporting on, in respect of funds allocated to members for constituency purposes, monitoring departure from the Integrity Commission, in respect of non-compliance of members with the provisions of the Integrity Commission Act. So the Act, let me just pull it up, because we do need to be clear how we are going to proceed.
Looking to pass certification exams? At Prepaway, we have exam questions for hundreds of IT certification exams, including Cisco.
Do you have a copy of the Integrity Commission Act to hand? Yes.
Madam Chair,
Do you have a copy of the Integrity Commission Act to hand? Yes.
I want to make a suggestion because
Yes.
our time here is limited.
Yes.
I don't think this method of approaching it, I think we have received this from the Commission. I think we take that on board, reflect on it, and have another session
I
that
am
focuses.
so, the hum from the cooler is causing your words to scatter and not hearing clearly at all. If you could just speak directly into the mic.
I have a slight cold, but what I'm suggesting, Madam Speaker, this method of work for today is very, very slow, and we have a limited time. We each do. My suggestion is that rather than today trying to plumb the depth of this particular issue, it arises in the context of our observation that more work needs to be done on many aspects of our mandate. I think this is one area. I've heard other members have views about the utility of this and all of that. I think that can be set for another date when we can have focused discussion. Everybody have a chance to look at the Integrity Commission Act and understand it.
Yes.
So if we try to do that today on the fly, I think it's going to pose some difficulty in terms of how we move.
Good suggestion. Wasn't attempting to do it on the fly, but just to make a connection between the work of the committee and this particular subject matter to set the stage for what is to come. But I do not believe that at today's meeting we can make any decision on the matter, but we certainly will have to consider how this leadership code of conduct and its status impact what we are supposed to do, and in particular monitoring compliance, non-compliance by members with the Integrity Commission Act. So not at all attempting to finalize anything on this matter, save and except to be clear that what the correspondence has done is to clarify without that the leadership code of conduct was not sent to all parliamentarians. That really is the highest we can go for today. Right. We're awaiting the committee clerk to come back with the minutes, so the time, I'm still monitoring the time. All right. All right, while we wait for the committee clerk to return, on the last occasion, the committee agreed that we would report to the Parliament, make a report to the Parliament and seek some guidance on the jurisdiction of this committee to address the matter of the recommendation for exemption by one member, which was dealt with by the House. A draft report was presented, well, not the draft report was circulated to members, and then the report, hard copy, was presented for signature prior to tabling in the House. We had some unfortunate developments on that. Which is something that we need to speak to today. When I made the opening statement and repeated what I said, it's really important for us to appreciate that in our approach to any matter, and the very sensitive matters, we also have to be ethical. There is no room for unethical conduct, and I'm not alleging anything, I'm merely making a statement. We have to approach our work with a level of seriousness that is required, however difficult the task may be. However difficult the task may be. And the good thing is that our proceedings are recorded, and if our memories fail us, we can always be assisted by the recording. The committee agreed to report to the House on the last occasion. There was no dissent in that position, even though members had different views on the matter. Member Hilton, give me 1 minute. Can you access the Nash account, please? Yes. In our, is there anything you wish to express around that matter? Yes. Just a minute. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for giving me the opportunity at this point to make the points I made then to you outside the Parliament and which I wish to put on the record here today. First of all, let me say to members of the committee, recall that the last meeting we talked about a few things. Among them was on this issue of the request to the member to reappear or to appear before the committee for further questions or elucidation. The position I took then, and I'm of the view, is that the matter having come before the committee, the House, both houses having addressed the matter.
I don't think it's a matter that both houses address. It's an exemption for the House of Representatives.
It's just for the House. It was just for the House. The House had passed a resolution that the matter, of the status of the matter is that it is functus officio in respect of this committee, meaning that the committee no longer had jurisdiction over the matter. Now, listen very carefully. I think the chairman appreciates the point I'm making. It's a very technical legal point. Very technical legal point. It's not a policy point, it's a very legal matter because no committee of parliament has jurisdiction over, if the jurisdiction is either, if they had it and it was hosted, then they can't continue on that matter. That's a very technical, and the jurisdictional point is very, very important. No. That was the stance I took in the meeting and tried to explain that the committee having acted and the House having acted, then the matter is no longer before the committee. And therefore, the committee, it was inappropriate for the committee to act.
In that committee meeting, that I am of the view...
Please speak into the mic
yes,
so that we don't have the reporter saying what is being said is inaudible.
That I am of the view that the committee, and in agreement with your point, that I don't think the committee has the authority to look into the matter again.
Member Witter, I really am not hearing you. Please go as close to the mic as possible.
That I raised the matter as a matter of my opinion then, that I don't think the committee would have the authority to look into the matter again. Nonetheless, we came back at committee and we agree that given the fact that, the committee is not in a position to look at the issue, and the member in question responded with a letter to say that he will only appear in relation to the matter being sent back to the Parliament, who would have made the decision already. So what we were signing to, in terms of our signature, in terms of the report from the committee, was to say, okay, we agree, so we send it back to Parliament. The committee has no jurisdiction over the matter again. We send it back to Parliament, let Parliament decide. And that was what the member stated in his letter. So I don't see why we should have an issue now, given the fact that the member in his response said that he will only attend if the matter is referred to Parliament. And we agree, and we say we will refer it to Parliament. So the matter ends here. What Parliament does after, then...
All right, thanks for that clarity.
Right.
Thanks for the clarity. And here's where I wish to make my point. So the question for me was, because what took place was having the minutes having been sent previously, having glossed over it on my way to Parliament. And when I came and was sitting, the member, a clerk from the House brought the document for me to sign. I was the first, I think, that the document came to be signed. I saw the matter about reporting the matter to the House, which I agreed to. The question is, when the matter went to other members of the committee, it dawned on me that they were not clear about, the other members, about what is it that we actually asked the committee or asking the committee to look at. And I said, but for me, it was clear because I was making a legal point. In fact, the chairman said, maybe I gave the legal advice, probably in jest. And we laughed and moved on. But I was making a very technical, legal point. When it became clear to me that the non-lawyers on the committee, i.e. two members, the two members on my side, were not clear about what it is that they were agreeing to, I said, look, instead of having this lack of clarity as to exactly what is being asked of reporting to the Parliament, we may want to resolve that here in the committee. And therefore, I struck my signature and said, let it come back here this morning for us to...
you struck it and said there were gross inaccuracies on the report, which I asked you to identify. So it's not that you said bring it back to the committee.
Member, I can explain. And so, in doing that, I had to indicate the reason why I was taking what, on the face of it, seemed to be a contrary decision. And for me, the gross inaccuracy that I apprehend was that here we are thinking, so I thought that we had some clarity, there was general understanding. And yet the two members on my side are saying, no, what is it that we agree on? They weren't clear what we agreed on. And I believe it is for this committee to settle that matter as to exactly what was being asked of the House. So from a non-lawyer point of view, you mentioned the matter of jurisdiction, and that may have general kind of understanding. For lawyers, and the chairman knows very well, this is a very profound matter, very profound matter. And so I thought, rather than having this discussion about, well, did we agree? And this in light of the fact that the member himself had raised a point and said he would not because the committee had no jurisdiction. And then my understanding, because an opinion was made by the Legislative Council, and it was not taken account of in the minutes. It was raised. I brought it to the attention of the chairman. Chairman said, well, there are other ways to bring it to the committee. But that opinion clearly underpinned the position taken by myself and the member in question. And so, in light of that, I thought there was not a sufficiency of discussion around that technical legal point. Because if in fact, and let me go on to say this, if it is understood that the committee has no jurisdiction, its functors have no jurisdiction, then the question going to the House cannot be, House, tell us what to do with this member. Because the matter is done, finished, with respect to this member. And I didn't appreciate fully that the other members some members were thinking that is so, and some members were saying, no, we are going to the House for instruction as to what to do with this member that is currently before the committee. And I'm saying that needs clarification, Chairman, because we need to be very clear
to what you
members from my side that they didn't, the clarity that I thought was there for me wasn't there for them. When it came back to me, I said, look, since this is all of this is done these things should be signed when persons are not in the House doing other business. You need to have the attention of their undivided attention for the signature to be attached. You can't do it while you're in the House and the business of the House is going on, and then a document is put before you, sign it. Right? No. I thought, as I said, in the face of it, for me, if it were for me alone, I knew, because I could always argue in the House what my thoughts on it were. But for the non-members, this was particularly that appeared before the committee. And that is an important difference. We're seeking guidance from Parliament about the future conduct and how we address this novel issue of law. And that was the detail that was required, that I didn't think there was a sufficiency of understanding around that.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes.
I think understand now what the member is saying. And I would just say to Member Hilton that your choice of words should have been otherwise. And I would conclude with that. Should have been otherwise. The choice of words, as he said.
We are going to be bound by the record. We are going to be bound by the record. All right. All right. So circulated. At the end of the day, we into the committee, then please expect that that issue will have to be dealt with. Now, let me just say that last week, since you referenced the opinion of Legislative Council, I had no knowledge of the opinion of Legislative Council. I thought it was not proper to seek to get the opinion on the record in the way that the attempt was made. Because there is a proper way to do it, and my view was that it was not done properly. And to date, I still do not have the opinion. I don't know its content. And I'm advised by the committee clerk that he doesn't have it either. So we are all seeking guidance, and we don't have to do it in a way that is going to slip something in. Because I heard it said elsewhere that I had it and I knew what was in it. And I found it most unfortunate. Anyone is entitled to seek guidance, seek counsel. I can take no issue with that. We are already aware that to discharge the functions of this committee, it may take us into testy waters. So all this thing about when a report is presented and it shouldn't be presented, respectfully, if a report is presented to anyone at a time when you are not able to bring the attention that is required to it, simply say, come back to me. If anyone has signed something and is retracting the signature, that's a right that you have. But you can't do it in a way to say that others did wrong. The report that will go from this committee to the House will have to be debated. And I think that was the error that was made the last time. You know, we have a way of just assuming that everything is in order, and we sometimes get hot under the collar when things are raised and pointed out because we all just want to get on with it. And when anyone stops to point out or interrogate, people get hot under the collar. If we're going to do the work of the country, we're going to have to learn new habits. All of us, I'm speaking to myself as I speak to members. So, Member Hilton, I'm grateful for the clarification that you have provided. And I do share your view that the choice of words was unfortunate. I'm not going to take it any further.
Thank you. I was wondering where we were going. I said the choice of words may have been unfortunate, but that was my intention, and it was not otherwise, as was being imputed
Very well.
to me.
Very well. We're just awaiting the copies of the minutes. I think with that said, we may need to provide greater clarity in the report and greater specificity. So I'm going to suggest that we do a redraft of that and speak specifically to the issue instead of in general terms. Because I think in an attempt not to name the member, we kind of framed it generally. My suggestion is that we speak specifically to it, which would then enable the debate to be done in a more specific way. Let me hear the views of members on that proposal. Member?
Madam Chair, just after listening to all that was said, I'm also in agreement that we need to do just that.
Thank you. Member Whittle? So what is put to the committee is that we redraft the report to make it specific to the member in question and to the issue. Member Whittle?
No problem, Madam
Very
Chair.
well.
I await the report.
Yes, I'm in agreement too, because considering that I was absent from the...
Member Hilton?
That's what I seek, Madam Speaker. That is what I seek. That's exactly what I seek, that level of specificity. Otherwise, the issue of whether this member, you have jurisdiction, continuing jurisdiction over this member, is really the issue. Otherwise, everything else is general guidance to the committee, which is what I thought that we were agreeing to, having made the point that you had no jurisdiction over this member.
All right. All right. So, because we're waiting on the printed copies of the minutes, the issue is that the committee considered the resolution of the House for exemption of the member from St. Andrew Southwest? Southeast? Right. The member appeared before the committee and provided information to the committee on which the committee acted. And the committee's recommendation was based on the information provided by the member. The accuracy of that information on which the committee's recommendation was grounded was subsequently brought into question. Just a minute. And the committee sought to obtain clarification on the information, which led to the member being summoned to reappear before the committee. And the member took issue with the jurisdiction of the committee to bring him back and indicated that, in other words, that he would only return to the committee if it came from the House. So the real issue is, how does the committee deal with let me just formulate. Give me a minute.
Madam Chair, I believe you're going down a slippery slope. The issue is the exemption motion is before the committee for the member to declare that he has a contract involving the government. That's the issue. It's not to go into the details of that contract and all of that. And if something subsequently occurs involving that contractual relationship, does the committee have a jurisdiction to query the member about what develops subsequently, or what is reported subsequently?
Member Hilton, I don't think that quite squares it. You may recall that in considering the motion for exemption, questions were asked of the member in respect of the contract, because of what was in the public domain. It's a very contract that may not be the exact contract, but what he was seeking exemption for. He was asked about it because of what was in the news, and he provided certain answers. So I don't think we can isolate it. The answers he provided informed the recommendation of the committee. And so the accuracy of those answers have been called into question. When Member Witter asked whether or not there was jurisdiction at the time, the matter did not come down to how you have put it at that time. Because I pointed out to him that it's not the committee that took the decision as to whether to exempt. The committee considers and recommends to the House.
ICWI paid out 99% of claims in 2024. We don't play games, we pay claims.
And it is the House that takes the decision. So at that time, we were not talking about the committee itself, because the issue was whether the committee took the decision, and it was clarified that this was not a matter of the committee's decision, but the committee makes a recommendation. The House may very well say that the matter, we have already acted, as your argument put it, or the House may say, if the recommendation was based on information that turns out to be inaccurate, we can reopen it. The House regulates its own proceedings. But what is for sure is that the member must be heard before any decision is taken adverse to him. That is clear because the rules of natural justice require it. So it is somewhat of a complex matter. I agree with you. It is a technical matter. I agree with you. And it is a matter that the committee will have to get the guidance of the House from. I agree with you on that. But if the committee makes a recommendation based on answers provided by the member, and those answers are now called into question because of things said elsewhere, then the committee has a duty to gain clarification. But you are right that we have never dealt with this matter before, and maybe the horse has already gone through the gate. But given the vast powers of the Parliament to regulate its own affairs, the Parliament may very well wish to say, let me send it back to you. This doesn't mean a decision is taken to overturn it. Let us hear more. And that's what we're seeking to do.
Madam, thank you. I wish to point out to members that of all the mandates of this committee, the most fundamental and the most basic is the declaration of the contract subsisting between government and a member. And that is a constitutional provision. That's not ordinary legislation or standing orders. That's a constitutional decision on which there could be finding to have the member vacate the House and undermine the entire electoral process. This is not a simple matter. So wait a minute. So on the question of, I think it bears reminding what we're doing. On the question, I think an initial question arises as to the scope of the exercise to be carried out by this committee. That's fundamental. Because if we don't know the scope, we can get ourselves into deep waters, wandering into all kinds of things. Did he beat his wife? All kinds of questions. We need to have the scope properly defined so that we don't go wandering and thrashing about into matters that properly does not concern this committee. Now, I warn. So please, the scope of the jurisdiction. So one, having had satisfied yourself that there is jurisdiction, which it would be for the exemption motion, then the first question is, what is the scope of that jurisdiction? Because if we don't have limits, we can find ourselves in deep waters. And the very concerns that we're expressing about conflicts with other committees and other agencies and other bodies could very well arise if we don't limit our scope. And those are the questions that came to me when my members saying, but that's not, we agreed. It was clear to me that they weren't clear. And, and this committee have a duty to do
Hilton,
that. Yes.
Ultimately, the exemption motion turns on whether a member can discharge his functions as a member of the House while contracting with the government, which involves personal interest. It's a private-public interest conflict that is at the heart of the provision around exempting a member. Because you are right that so serious is the matter that if you are in a contractual relationship with the government where your personal interest is of paramount consideration, it may conflict with the public interest that you must discharge. So a consideration of an exemption motion is not isolated from the issues of conflict of interest. Conflict of interest between your private interest and the public interest, which your duties as a member of the parliament involves. Because at the end of the day, when the cabinet makes decisions, the cabinet is collectively accountable to the parliament for those decisions. That's what the Constitution says. Many people are unclear about collective responsibility when they speak about it. Perhaps, just a minute. So what the Constitution says is that
Open Art brings the tools to the storytellers of today. Creating a character is simple, whether it's from a sentence or a single image. Open Art brings your vision to life. But that's just the beginning. Once your character is created, you can use it in any story or setting with perfect consistency. With Open Art's 3D pose editor, you can adjust your character's position and movements with ease. Want to take it further? Seamlessly place your character into any scene or background. The future of storytelling starts with you. Open Art brings your ideas to life in ways you never imagined.
At section 69, there shall be in and for Jamaica a cabinet which shall consist of the Prime Minister and such number of other ministers, not being less than 11, selected from among ministers appointed in accordance with the provisions of section 70 of this Constitution, as the Prime Minister may from time to time consider appropriate. Subsection 2, The cabinet shall be the principal instrument of policy and shall be charged with the general direction and control of the government of Jamaica and shall be collectively responsible, therefore, to Parliament. So the cabinet is collectively responsible for the general direction and control of government to the Parliament. So the parliamentary role is an important role. The matters are not unrelated. I share the view that we have to be clear about what we're seeking. But it is not a simple matter.
If I can, I'll give one suggestion and I'm finished, which is, so for the clarity that we seek from the House, it is not simply the jurisdictional matter, as it has appeared in this issue, which is really to call back the member after Parliament has acted. But there's a prior issue of the scope of the inquiry as regards to the exemption motion process. Is it, so for example, is it sufficient that the member come before the House and say, "Oh, members, please be aware I have this contract. This is the nature of the contract I have with the government." Right? Is that sufficient? Or the members need to know how much he's getting, what's the terms of the contract, is it reasonable, and all of that. That I'm just saying. So you say no, and that sounds very easy, but I'm giving examples. So what is the scope then of the inquiry? That, Madam Speaker, is fundamental.
I'm not the Speaker.
Madam Chair.
So Member Hilton.
All I'm saying,
we did say among ourselves
we need guidance
that if we are to do the work of this committee properly, we may not find any precedent to deal with it because the committee's work was done perfunctorily in the past. In fact, when I did my own research, the committee's work, and I think, Member Witter, you've been in this committee before, was confined almost exclusively to the hearing of motions. Today, the people of Jamaica are demanding more of their parliamentarians, with all due respect. And when a member of parliament has a contract with the government of Jamaica on account of the public service, and issues arise, the people want to know. This is not, I don't believe in witch hunting, you know. I don't believe in that. And I know some people's backs may go up because I said from day one, in approaching any matter before this committee, each side must bear in mind that the issue may arise on either side. And so we have to be clear that this cannot be done in a partisan way. All right?
Yeah.
So the issue of membership of the House and a conflict of interest when you are in contract with the government is not a simple matter.
Madam,
at all.
No, the question is, Madam Speaker, it is not.
So if you think that because in the past a member may just be called upon to say this is it and it is acted on, that may not be the case going forward.
And
so if you're talking about scope, I believe we are under a duty to find out what is the extent of the contract and how will any conflict of interest be resolved in the public interest. It's not just your private gain when you are contracting with the government, because it's taxpayers' monies, the services that have to be provided. We have to be clear about it, and this is where the people are asking us to do our jobs a little better, because the distrust is so deep in the society. And the only way to demonstrate.
Spent months making your PDF? and someone's already leaked it on Telegram. Not anymore. Meet TNC Flipbook 3D. Block right-click, copy, and download. Stamp every page with the reader's name. Try to inspect the code? Content disappears. Gate it behind a password. Hide the file URL. 7 layers of protection, 1 WordPress plugin. Protect your PDF today. TNCFlipbook.com.
That we are committed to doing better is to do the work.
Madam Chair, I'm done. Let me say this. I'm simply saying, and I repeat, the scope of that jurisdiction and the exercise must be an issue to be discussed and have clarified, because we cannot, having demand saying declare what is there so that there can be some monitoring, public monitoring, is not the same as saying you now need to come and to tell us all the details about a contract that you have with government, which the role and function is with the agency
so let me
letting the contract.
Remember, I'm not quarreling with you, right? What you're saying, because in essence, the question is to what extent do we interrogate the issue?
Correct.
Right. So the Constitution says you are declaring the nature of such contract and your interest in it.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So it's not just to say I have a contract.
No.
To hear about the nature of it and your interest in it. That is where now you get a sense of how your private interest and the public interest may or may not conflict.
But that
so I agree
boundaries.
with you. I agree with you.
All right.
I entirely agree with you that the scope of the inquiry is something that we should pay some attention to.
Correct.
Because I don't share the view that it is merely to say the contract exists.
No one said that.
Good.
I didn't say that.
That's why I said we are agreed.
Yeah.
We're agreed. So how are you going to know the nature of the contract and the interest of the member in it if you don't interrogate it?
Maybe a form is developed and presented, and that sets the boundary of where this committee goes, because otherwise you have an open-ended.
Isn't that why the work is so exciting ahead of us? Right.
Okay,
things
Madam
have to
Speaker.
come out in the open, Mr. Hilton. Things have to come out in the open. They can't be hidden if we're going to find out
Come on, when
what
you make
it is.
these
I'm
comments,
not saying
please.
that you're saying so.
No, but no. Please. I am simply saying I'm agreeing the Constitution says what it says, and it's not simply you come and have a contract. I'm saying though that there are limits to the scope, and we have to define that boundary. That's my point. That is my point. Nothing else. Okay? I'm not talking about
I'm not sure what you mean about limit to the scope, but we do have to interrogate in order to ascertain the nature of the contract and the interest of the member in the contract in order to do the job. That's all I'm saying.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
All right.
As a
Madam
non-lawyer.
Chair, Madam Chair, I have to take leave. I have an urgent matter to go.
At this rate, we may have to. No, well, we do have time. You're not able to stay till.
No, I just got a call on an emergency matter.
All right, let me just hear from Member Morris.
Yes, I gather that all of us agree that there needs to be the scope of it must be defined. But to what extent? Who decides on the scope of?
What an exciting time that is ahead of us in this committee.
It's a question, because I'm here sitting and I'm wondering, because there's an interest. The public has an interest, and of course the holder of the contract has an interest. I also want to raise the point about the member who would have responded in a particular way at previous meetings, and the recommendations that were made based on the information that was presented. I too believe that if a recommendation was made based on the information that was presented. It is only reasonable that the committee would have acted in accordance with what they had, the information we had at the time. But if it is that we found that the information that was presented could be, or should I say,
so
it has been said
to
elsewhere.
assist the member, how
Right.
we stated it is that the accuracy of the information was called into question.
Right.
And that was done to be generous to the member.
Right.
And the reason we were requesting his presence is to give him an opportunity to clarify so that he would be heard. But I don't know that we can resile from seeking clarification if one thing is said in one forum and another is said in another forum by the same person.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Member Cuthbert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You are right. I don't think we can resile from seeking clarification, but what this, just listening, and I've been to all of the meetings, this is really shining a light on a bigger issue that we've had. This parliament is how old? And I think, as you said, in the last few years, I think people are demanding more from us to, to represent at a higher level. And I think it's time that we do so as parliamentarians. People have put their trust in us. And I think, as you said, we have to look at things in a non-partisan way. And no matter who is going to be coming before us, we must interrogate and we must, do what is right. And I think we are trying to do what is right by looking at what we have before us, trying to get clarification on so many things that we don't have clarification on. And it is baffling to me, just even looking at other jurisdictions and how they carry out the function of their, whether it's their parliament or Congress or what have you. And here we are trying to get answers in our parliament today. It's bothering me. It's bothering me personally as a parliamentarian. But I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for how you've been conducting these proceedings so far, trying to make sure that we have it right, trying to make sure that we get it right, and the fairness of it. And I think this is what the Jamaican public would want to see from us as parliamentarians. So I just want to thank you, I guess. This is my first time, of course, on the Ethics Committee, and also trying to understand. And hopefully, going forward, we can get to the bottom and clarify so that going forward, we can have something in place that persons can actually follow and, do the right things.
Thank you, Member Cuthbert Flynn. I appreciate the difficulty that the matter poses, because the worst case scenario is that the exemption can be revoked and the member would have to vacate his seat. That's the worst case scenario. But I think we would fall short of our duties if we did not seek to address the issues that have arisen from the committee's consideration of the matter and the recommendation. Because if a recommendation is made on information provided and that the accuracy of that information has been called into question, we do have a duty to get clarification. All right, let us go to the minutes. Page 1. No, is there any correction to page 1? If there is none, we can move to page 2. Any correction to page 2? Any correction? Any correction to pages 2 and 3? I see none from my read. Members? No? We go to page 4.
Prepaway helps you to pass IT certification exams easily. Latest and updated exam questions and answers for over 1,000 certifications. 98.6% of our students pass.
Any correction to page 4? When you shake your head, we can't see it on record. Nor
No, Madam Chair, I see none.
any other member? No corrections? All right, we go to page 5. Thank you. Should this be capital standing orders? The standing orders in those jurisdictions? Okay. Okay. Any correction to page 5? I see none jumping out at me. Nothing for correction. Members? Any correction to page 5? None. Page 6. I just suggest the addition of, on the last paragraph on page 6, the chairman clarified that the committee was not yet in a position to make a formal report to the House, but was presently considering recommendations by identifying areas of work to be done. It's really recommendation to the House on the signing of codes of conduct, just for clarity. So we would insert after House on this, the committee was not yet in a position to make a formal report to the House on the matter of codes of conduct. Any other correction to page 6? If none, we go to page 7. Any correction to page 7? If none, yes? Patterson? Yes?
Madam Chair, thank you very much. With your permission, I would like to refer to paragraph 7.
Yes.
It states, Member Hilton clarified that the issue was not solely whether it was appropriate for the member to appear before the committee, but whether the committee retained jurisdiction in the matter. He further noted that the leader of opposition business had sought and obtained an opinion from the Legislative Council of Parliament and suggested that the committee should have sight of that opinion before proceeding further. Just for the avoidance of any form of doubt and for the purposes of clarity, the lead of opposition business did not contact the Legislative Council Department directly.
Ms. Patterson, perhaps just note it for matters arising.
Thank you.
If it's not correcting what is stated there, but seeking to address that, then properly it would be a matter arising. So I will come back to it, matters arising.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. If no correction to page 7, we go to page 8. I'd like to propose an amendment to the first paragraph on page 8, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by analogy to proceedings in other branches of government, to change other branches to another branch of government. Because it's really the judicial branch that the comparison is being made. So to correct by changing other branches to another branch. If there is any other correction to page 8, if none, we go to page 9. All right, on page 9, I'm proposing 2 amendments. In the first paragraph, to substitute the word explained with suggested, the chairman suggested that any jurisdictional objection concerning the committee's authority to seek clarification could first be considered as a preliminary issue in camera. So suggest instead of explain. And at the 5th paragraph, members express support for referring the matter to the House for its determination. To substitute express support to agreed. Yes. Agreed to refer the matter to the House. Any other correction? If none, we go to page 10.
Did you know that PriceSmart sells more than just food? PriceSmart is a shopping club with a wide range of products for your home. Here you can find furniture and accessories that transform spaces, high-quality appliances to ensure style and comfort, and even specialized equipment to have your own gym at home.
All right, members, you know that we have to read. Let me thank the committee clerk. I know he's under pressure, but it's comprehensive minutes, well written. So thank you. Will someone move for the confirmation of the minutes as corrected?
Move? I so move.
Yes. Seconded?
I so move to second it.
Thank you again, committee clerk. I want to make a suggestion. Where the minutes are corrected and confirmed, can we have the corrected minutes presented instead of or having to refer to the next minutes to read the corrections? So the corrections would be inserted in the minutes, and the corrected confirmed minutes circulated for the records of members. We now move to matters arising. We shouldn't be very long because I think a lot of the issues have been ventilated, and I see, Member Witter, that the minutes record the point that you reiterated on page, let me see. One of the pages, page 9, in the 3rd paragraph. Fontes officio here should be italicized. Yeah. Miss Stewart, I erroneously referred to you as Miss Patterson previously. Miss Tiffany Stewart, our Senior Legislative Counsel, matters arising. You wish to put on record a matter. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, just to revert to page 7, paragraph 7, and for the purposes of clarity solely and for the avoidance of any form of doubt or misinterpretation, the legal opinion was sought by the lead of opposition business through the office of the clerk and not directly from the Legislative Council Department. Additionally, a request was made for a supplemental legal opinion on April 30th through the office of the clerk on the same matter, and that was provided, I think, on May 1st to the leader of opposition business.
At the last meeting, are you able to say whether the opinion reference was sent to the chair or to the committee, or whether
I would have to consult with the office of the clerk.
Very well. Well, I can say that I did not have it at all, and I still don't have it.
Right, so I will inquire
If it
whether
was sent to me, I have not seen it.
I will inquire whether the first legal opinion dated April 21st was dispatched, and also the supplemental legal opinion dated April 30th on the same matter.
Sorry, a first opinion when?
The first opinion that's dated April 21st, 2026.
April?
21st.
21st.
Right.
Yes.
And the supplemental legal opinion that is dated April 30th, 2026. And that would have been sent based on email correspondence from the office of the clerk to the lead of opposition business on May 1st, 2026.
They were
May
sent
1st.
To whom?
The lead of opposition business, May 1st.
That's
Via
the
the
supplemental
The
one.
supplemental.
Leader of opposition business.
That's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. May I suggest for consideration that we defer any other matter arising from this minutes to the next meeting because the matters continue. May I also suggest to members that you reread the minutes of the last meeting just to keep the issues fresh in our minds as we go forward. Any other business? All right. The date of the next meeting we had agreed for the 26th of May. On the side, may I just ask, was there an advisory that Labor Day would be celebrated on the 25th? It falls on a Saturday, which is a proper day. Normally it is when it falls on a Sunday that it is celebrated on the Monday, since Sunday is an exempt day. Tuesday the 26th. All right. All right. All right, so we had agreed for the 26th, Tuesday the 26th. All right, it's now 12:35. Will someone move for the adjournment?
I so move.
Very well. Member Morris, you seconded?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
The meeting is terminated.